Welcome back to Sunday Vibes 1 and all. I hope you're having a brilliant, relaxing weekend. Sat to my right, Christopher Hamill and Patrick Van Straten. They're going to be answering all the questions you guys at home have been sending in this week. The first one comes from Urban Pineapple 720. He says, who is the best bench warmer in Europe, gentlemen? Who?
Urban Pineapple.
How are we defining bench
Sounds like
warmer?
a hand grenade.
It does. For me, my definition of bench warmer, I think, is the player that can offer the most from the bench. So the best
Is
impact.
that not impact sub though?
I think you can be a good bench warmer and impact sub, but for me, I think it's the best player that can affect the game immediately when coming on.
Interesting.
Why? Do you think it's different?
I'd maybe go with the player with the greatest ability who sits on the bench who we aren't necessarily seeing as much as we'd like. Yeah, for example, there's Thomas Muller at Bayern Munich.
Nice, yeah.
There is Batshuayi at Chelsea.
Yeah.
Players with outrageous ability who, for one reason or another, just aren't getting a start. But I'd maybe go for someone like Isco at Real Madrid. Only made 11 starts this season. But in those 11 starts and substitute appearances, he has 5 assists and 5 goals.
That's mental.
Which, in comparison to someone like James Rodriguez, also an outrageous player who sits on the bench, he's made the same amount of starts and has 1 goal, 3 assists.
Outperforming him then.
He is outperforming, and he's outperforming the likes of Toni Kroos, who, albeit does sit slightly deeper.
Yeah.
Kroos has 1 goal, 9 assists, which is pretty outrageous, 9 assists. But yeah, he's influencing the game when he starts. And at a club like Real Madrid, how long can you be that sort of player before someone
Loads of people
picks you
want to
off?
sign him,
The
don't
likes
they?
of Tottenham and Manchester United are swirling like vultures.
I mean, I'd love him at Man United. There was rumours in Martha the other day that he was going to be sold for £25 million, which just seems so cheap.
Be all over that.
So cheap. I mean, there'll be a host of clubs chasing him if there's any truth to that. What do you think, Pat? Who are you going to go for?
Well, by your definition, somebody who's made an impact off the bench.
Yeah.
You can't overlook somebody like Giroud, who's done very well off the bench this season. Also, Tottenham's Heung-min Son, who's been very, very good when he's got
off
a
the
chance. But I don't know. I mean, if you want to go for pure talent, you're looking at people like, Marquinhos, who doesn't play as much as he should at PSG. Mehdi Benatia, who's technically on loan at Juventus. It's not surprising he's not getting into that back line, given how good it is. But he should be starting for a Champions League level club. But I think I'd go for Rakitic. I mean, it's kind of been forgotten, I think, because Barcelona fans are understandably frustrated with how their season's gone and are just like casting around for a scapegoat. But Rakitic can do everything in the midfield. He's an attacking midfielder. He can play as a box-to-box midfielder. He can even sit if you really want him to.
Yeah.
And you see as well, the lack of him is obvious in a Barcelona midfield. They don't have anybody who's kind of energetic and simultaneously good. Andre Gomez, energetic but not good. Iniesta, very, very good, but not terribly energetic anymore. So Rakitic, I think, should be playing far, far more.
Yeah, I think there's a few names for me. I think at Bayern Munich, like you said, Thomas Muller. There's an option of Renato Sanchez, not got an awful lot of game time this season. You've got the likes of Kingsley Coman, struggling to get a game ahead of Arjen Robben. Even at Man United, we've got some incredible talent on the bench at times. Obviously, because of that, the strength of our front three, Martial spent a lot of time on the bench this season. You've seen Juan Mata there a lot, so that's interesting. But for me, I think, because of my definition, I'm actually going to go for 2 players, Cesc Fabregas or Olivier Giroud, like you mentioned.
Fabregas has been outrageous when he's come on this
Yeah,
season.
Fabregas has been so good. He offers such a different dimension to what Chelsea have already in that central midfield. With Matic and Kante, you get work rate and defensive stability. With Cesc Fabregas, you get ball playing ability, you get impact from the bench, you get assists, you get creativity. And it's similar with Olivier Giroud in a different way. I think he has a completely different dimension to what your starting lineup would be. He allows you to play a second way. We saw it against Man United. They get to the byline, cross it in. When he came on off the bench, scored the equaliser at Old Trafford, powerful header. Nobody else in your team can offer you that. That's why I think Olivier Giroud has such an impact off the bench in a similar fashion to Cesc Fabregas. But what do you guys at home think? Who do you think is the best bench warmer in the world? And what's your definition? Why don't you let us know in the comments below? Zaid has our next question. Oh, it's a topical one. Should Barcelona get a new manager? If yes, then who? It's a difficult one. I don't think they should jump the gun just yet and get rid of Enrique. But if they do, one name immediately jumps to mind. Obviously, there are some incredible managers across Europe at the moment. I actually think Wenger would be fantastic for Barcelona.
The elderly statesman. It worked well for Real Madrid with Pellegrini.
And I'll see the gasoline being poured on the comment section now.
Let me have it in the comments because I'm sure you will anyway. But I think that Wenger I think his time at Arsenal is coming to an end. I think the 2-year contract, I don't necessarily think he'll accept it. I think he'll potentially move on at the end of the season. I also think he's very good with budgets, and I think that over the next few years, Barcelona are going to have an extremely constrained budget because of the stadium build.
In the midst, he's been through that
and
whole process.
And he's been through that whole process with the Emirates. We've seen that in the past. I mean, if you look at the net spend since 2000 of the top Premier League teams, Manchester City, £949 million. Chelsea,
Jesus.
£727 million. Man United, £606 million. And Arsenal, £260. I think that's going to be crucial in Barcelona's thinking. I don't think they're going to have a lot of money over the next few years.
Yeah.
I think they need someone to help maintain that philosophy for a short stint whilst they get the stadium and infrastructure in place. And once that's happened, they can then move on to a more long-term option. And I think Arsene Wenger is the perfect man for that. He's experienced it at Arsenal. He can bring a similar philosophy. He knows how to manage superstars in the likes of Sanchez and Ozil. I think he's just a perfect fit for him.
I think often at Barcelona, all you need is stability.
Yeah.
Because the quality of the squad is so good. But also,
Exactly.
Wenger's reputation was kind of built on blooding youngsters.
Yeah.
And imagine if instead of Arsenal's academy, which is pretty decent, he had Barcelona's academy, which is arguably the best in the world.
Exactly.
Like, I think that would be quite interesting. I don't think Arsenal's squad. Basically, in order for a Wenger side to win the league, your squad needs to have vastly more talent than all the other teams it plays. He doesn't really give you a strategic advantage with his system, but he enables talent to express itself. Now, if you're Barcelona, that's fine. If you're Arsenal, that's a real huge problem. But I don't know. That'd be quite fun to see. I'd like him to have a nice retirement away from Arsenal.
Who would you go for then, if not Wenger?
Well, I do feel a bit sorry for Luis Enrique, but
Would you sack him first? Would you get rid of him?
it depends if he's lost respect from the players. If the players aren't going to follow him anymore, it doesn't matter whether I think it's a harsh decision. Like, he's not going to be able to get anywhere. But I'd like him potentially to stay. But they're talking about Jorge Sampaoli.
That'd be lovely.
Taking over. Now, I want him to stay at Sevilla because I think they're super fun at the moment. But God, he'd be great.
Yeah.
Like, he'd be so good. I mean, again, Barcelona are one of those sides that, like, since Pep Guardiola left, they also haven't had like a dominant tactical
I agree.
manager.
I agree.
They're an exceptionally talented team, and Enrique's done interesting things, and so did Tito Villanova. But I think that Sampaoli would put in that high press. They'd be so exciting to watch again. I think if Barcelona aren't really a team for the neutrals.
True.
And I remember getting so bored in the days of Guardiola, even in the days of Guardiola, with the constant possession and recycling the ball in midfield. Sampaoli's not going to do that. Sampaoli's just going to hit you hard. And I swear to God, they'd get into double figures against some teams. It would be mayhem. So for maximum entertainment factor, Sampaoli.
What about you, Hamster? Would you sack Enrique is the first question, the key question.
No, and I think he deserves a little bit more respect. This is a treble-winning manager. The interesting point you made, Pat, about potentially having lost or losing the change room. Apparently, Xavi had to step in when he fell out with Messi sort of 3 or 4 months ago, and Messi spent a 2 or 3 sort of game stint on the bench. And I think Xavi Hernandez could be an interesting shout. He hasn't been shy about his ambitions to manage the club, and they've plucked for a sort of novice that has, inherent ties to the club before. So he could be interesting. The likes, if we're talking frugal and we're talking Premier League, the likes of Mauricio Pochettino, who also deploys that high press like Sampaoli, could be an interesting shout. But then he's always dismissed links to Barcelona because of his allegiance to Espanyol. But I would stick with Enrique, definitely.
Really?
I'd give him another season. I think there's an interesting article last week that came out wherein PK said we were absolutely terrible. We were in an absolute state after Tata Martino until Enrique came in, and he firmly sort of squared the blame at the feet of the players. I think they need another centre back. As you alluded to in another question, they need another central midfielder. The likes of Neymar has been missing an unprecedented amount of chances this season. True. He's only got, he scored his first goal in 11 games the other week. And if that front three starts firing again, I mean Messi's in absolutely insane form, 30 plus goals in 30 plus games. But I think it's just, I don't think they're too far away again from clicking, and I wouldn't make any knee-jerk decisions regarding Enrique, no.
So there we have it. But would you sack Luis Enrique? You can vote in the poll above my head, just yonder. Anmol Kumar has the next question. He says, who is the best director of football at the moment? This is a really interesting question because he gets banded around our office a lot. Christopher Hammond, do you want to kick us off? Because there's one man who everybody seems to know nowadays.
I can only go with Monchi, my friend.
Yes, who is he?
He's the director of football at Sevilla. He's currently leaving at the end of the season for Rome, the Eternal City.
Big coup.
And a massive, massive coup for them. But in 2000, when Sevilla employed him, he was given 2 objectives. To expand the scouting network and to overhaul the youth system. Now, he has a scouting network of over 700 people, including 16 head judges of talent.
Yeah.
And on that conveyor belt of talent includes the likes of Krychowiak, the likes of Kevin Gamero, Carlos Bacca,
Sergio Ramos.
Sergio Ramos.
Danny Alves.
He's developed players like Reyes, like Jesus Navas. And, you know, they've won, 5 major titles?
5 Europa Leagues.
11 years he's been there. So, fair play, job done quite emphatically.
Yeah, agreed. Pato, who are you going for?
Michael Tork, who's the director of football or sporting director at Borussia Dortmund. I think he's comfortably the best in the world. He's so good. His ability to find talent. I mean, he brought Lewandowski to the club, he brought Mkhitaryan to the club.
His ability to sell players to Bayern is formidable.
Well, there's not a lot he could do about that, but you look at the budget that the man's got to work with, and somehow he manages to get stars within that budget. He got Raf Guerrero for about 13 million when everyone wanted him. He got Ousmane Dembele for 15 million. Everyone wanted him. How did that happen? There's a rumour that they've got Mahmoud Dahoud joining them in the summer for about 10 million euros. This was a guy who they were talking about 40 million that Liverpool might stamp up for him. Talk loses quality players all the time because it's just the nature of Borussia Dortmund. They can't compete financially with Bayern or with, say, the English clubs who are going to come in for their players. And every time they rebuild and stay towards the top of the league, he's overseen the transition from Klopp to Tuchel, and it's to his credit that they remain punching above their weight in Champions League competition as well. He's so good at his job. It's outrageous. And I believe he was a one-club man as a player at Borussia Dortmund before he went into the backroom staff.
Have you read anything about the Ousmane Dembele transfer recently? Apparently there's a bit of... Apparently something stinks about it to do with his agents before and his agents after. Yeah. Was it at Lille? Was it Lille?
Rennes.
Was it Rennes, sorry. That's interesting. So we'll do a bit of digging about that and maybe let you know about it another week.
I've gone for a slightly different tack. I've gone for Matthias Sammer. Now, he isn't technically a current sporting director. He's left the role because he's been ill. He's had some problems with his brain. But I think the ability to sustain consistent success is extremely hard to find, and I think there's no sporting director that's done it as well as Matthias Sammer. Took over in 2012, haven't not won a league title since, haven't not won the German Cup since. He has overseen the transition between Jupp Heynckes and Pep Guardiola extremely successfully. I know that people talk about potentially Pep underperforming because he didn't win a Champions League. I think that's absolute nonsense. Pep did a fantastic job at Bayern Munich.
It's the best football I've ever seen.
And consistently, I don't know if anybody at home has read Pep Confidential, but he consistently talks about Matthias Sammer as being the key figure at Bayern Munich, as the reason he joined, the reason that they're so successful. His relationship with Uli Hoeneß, who went to prison, was one of the reasons that Bayern didn't actually win the Champions League. It all fell apart that summer. And also his relationship with Rummenigge, who's the CEO of the club, is so tight that it's just the best run club in the world. I think everybody can agree that Bayern Munich's squad is the best squad in Europe, I'd say right now.
Probably. I mean, historically, they do that really well, don't they? They employ ex-players to keep up that pedigree, to keep that winning mentality.
Extremely successfully as well. I think that a manager and a sporting director have to have a really good relationship, and I think that Pep Guardiola and Matthias Sammer's relationship was extremely tight. Let's not also forget he was the sporting director of the season that Bayern Munich won the treble under Jupp Heynckes.
But they are operating on a massive budget, aren't they?
Of course they are. They are operating on a massive budget, but so are half of Europe. They're run far better than Man United. They're run far better than Chelsea. They're run far better than Barcelona.
Have they got a tractor sponsorship deal?
They haven't.
No, Ed Woodward.
And they've still managed great deals. You know, like Kingsley Coman.
Exactly. Fabulous
deal. Did Juventus want to let go of him, but they still got him? Joshua Kimmich. No one was really after him. He didn't cost a lot of money, and they got him off RB Leipzig when he was still in the second Bundesliga.
Career.
He's done a great
he's done
job.
an incredible job at Bayern Munich, and as I said, I think consistency of success is what wins him over these two. What do you guys at home think? Would you go for Monchi, Zorc, or would you go for Sammer? Vote in the poll now. 2 polls in 1 episode. It's a miracle.
Ooh.
Our final question of the day comes from NMKHD. This one is going to cause some controversy in the comments.
It's going to be fun, mate.
Who is the most overrated manager in the world?
Ooh,
Pato, I've just
sadist.
seen the name Pato's got written down here. You're a madman, Van Straat.
This is the easiest decision I've
You're a
ever
madman.
made. It's Joachim Löw.
The Germany manager, the World Cup
manager.
winning Germany manager.
Oh yeah, he won the World Cup. Oh, well done. He hasn't managed a club side for about 10 years, and that's because when he was actually at club sides, everyone hated him because he wasn't very good. Even at Germany, he's consistently made mistakes. I do think that he's held them back a little bit because that level of talent is outrageous. But he insisted on playing centre-backs in the full-back roles, which is crazy to me. You know, he actually said at one point, we don't have any full-backs, when they had Schmelzer, who at that point was fantastic.
And Philip Lahm.
Yeah, he said, oh, I'm going to play Lahm in centre mid. And you're like, well, Pep can get away with this, even though I think Lahm is obviously much, much better as a right back than he is as a central midfielder. But then Löw thought he was going to do it, despite the fact he had Toni Kroos to play there. Weird decision. When he realised he didn't have a proper centre forward, he didn't think, let's change my system so I don't need a proper centre forward. He thought, you know what, let's get Miroslav Klose's corpse out of retirement. Let's put a fucking a jolt of electricity up it and just see what happens. Or let's play Mario Götze as a false 9. Also not good. Stop looking at what Pep does and then trying to do it when you're about a third as intelligent as him. And also, get your hair cut. Stop smelling your balls, it's weird. Or at least just do it on your own time. Stop getting your assistant manager to dress the same as you. That's also fucking weird.
Brian Kidd, take note.
Joachim Löw, I don't understand the guy. He was linked to the Arsenal job.
Yeah.
That is bananas. Linked to
Why,
the
though?
Because he's shite. He was linked to the Dortmund job, I think, immediately after Klopp went, though Tuchel was in line pretty quickly. That would have been hilarious. If you wanted to see a guy take them down to the 2nd division, then by all means hire Joachim Löw. He's not a good manager. Yeah, he's not a good manager. He sucks. He's overrated.
Well, I'm going to go on a slightly different note. I'm going to go Roberto Martinez. I hate the man. I'll be honest.
So it's personal, it's not even professional.
But one
It's
of the
not
most
personal.
likeable men in
It's not
professional
personal,
football.
I hate the man.
Maybe. You're probably right. He is likeable, but quite frankly, he has the best reputation built on sand I've ever seen in my life. He took Swansea out of League One into the Championship. Good job. Found his level, League One. League One level coach, in my opinion, honestly. Championship, he did okay.
Mate. Martin Allen manages in League One.
He did okay in the Championship with Swansea. Then he went to Wigan. Now, consistently battled relegation with Wigan. Never took them anywhere, really, outside of the bottom 6.
What did you expect he was going to do with them? Win the Europa League?
No.
Fucking Wigan.
Won the FA Cup, mate.
Yeah, he won the
Won
FA
the,
You're right.
And they played
had
quite
a decent
quite
campaign in
entertaining
Europe.
football.
I agree. They did win the FA Cup. Let me just go through their route to the final. Bournemouth, League One. Macclesfield, quarterfinals, non-league.
Big game.
Huddersfield, Championship, and then Man City in the final. So great route to the final.
I'm sure that
Can
Man
everything-
United won the
what's in
FA
front of
Cup.
you?
If the Man United won the FA Cup taking that route, you would celebrate it just the same.
100%. Same season they got relegated. Let's not forget that. So they also dropped out of the Premier League that year. Somehow, don't ask me how, he was in talks with Liverpool, overtaking over there. Never quite materialised, so he went to Everton. Promised Bill Kenwright Champions League football immediately after taking over, and he did have a good first season. I won't take it away from him. Finished 5th with David Moyes' squad and a very solid defensive structure. As we all know, Roberto Martinez doesn't know how to build a defence. Second season,
That is true.
finished 11th when the defence of Jagielka and Distan suddenly started ageing. Shock. Then finished 11th again and got sacked. Now, from 11th to 11th, he somehow got the Belgium job, which is possibly, in my opinion, one of the most talented squads of international players in world football.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see the catastrophic levels of defending he puts together in that team. Alderweireld will probably be in central midfield. He'll have Vertonghen at right back. He'll have 2 absolute unknowns in central defence. I wouldn't be surprised if Jason Denayer starts in their over company. I'll be honest.
You know what? I'm actually quite sympathetic to this view. They were like, oh, we were a fucking catastrophe in defence when we had Mark Wilmots. I know what we'll do. We'll get Bobby Martinez.
We'll get Bobby Martinez.
Bobby Martinez and Thierry Henry. They'll do it.
2 managers.
Deary me.
If you 2 uninspiring managers presiding over the golden era of,
But how?
of Belgium's football.
How's he got this job? Relegated with Wigan, 11th with Everton. I know. Give him Belgium to the end of the season.
International
Pathetic.
management international management might suit him.
Well,
I
I'm
don't
sure it
see
will
any
suit
way
him,
in
'cause
which
it's
it
a lot
suits
of
him.
money
Because the
for
defence will
almost
have
nothing.
minimal exposure
No,
to
but
it.
I disagree. I think at the international tournament, at the World Cup and the European Championship, it's defence that wins you those trophies. It
He's
really
quite
is.
personable, though. I
And
can imagine him
they're
being
terrible.
a good man manager.
Yeah, he's going to have the team 6 weeks at a time, is it? 6 to 8 weeks at a time? A year? How is he going to build a good defence out of that? He couldn't build a good defence.
How's he going to
12
ruin a
months.
good defence?
If he just
during that
leaves
time?
Vertonghen and Alderweireld together, then
He
they'll
won't.
probably be okay just with that. But he
won't.
won't. He'll tinker.
He will.
He'll
He'll
go to
absolutely
three
tinker.
he'll go to 3 at the back, or he'll do some fucking mental shit like he did at Wigan when he was like, let's play 5 at the back and we'll play like, I don't know, Emerson Boyce and Maina Figueroa, and then we'll play like Franco Di Santo in goal or something
I know.
insane.
And all I'm saying is this is going to come back to bite me on the arse massively when they win the World Cup. Which is probably going to happen now.
I hope they do. I hope they do. Otherwise, we're going to look back at this in 20 years' time. We're going to look at the squad and we're going to go, how did this squad get knocked out at the group stage of
And then
every
we'll go,
competition?
It's fucking Bobby Martinez.
Oh, it's Bobby
again.
Martinez.
How are they outclassed by Coleman's Wales? Like-
Exactly.
Right, I'll make my answer short and sweet then, as you two gave quite impassioned
Please do.
answers there. And I suppose for me, it's just a matter of perception. You know, if you ask Barcelona fans, they're going to say Zidane. They're going to say he was fortunate to inherit that talented squad.
Yeah.
If you ask some Liverpool fans in the moment, they might say they're not progressing quite as they'd like under Klopp. He has a very similar record to Brendan Rodgers after 50, 60 games. If you ask, I don't know, England fans, they're going to say, how the fuck did Gareth Southgate get that England job when he did such a, he had such a
Terrible job.
mundane career before? Football, more often than not, it's just jobs for the boys. Tony Mowbray got employed at Blackburn, and he's one of the most horrible managers that I think I've ever seen, in the English game. But, mate, I don't have a particular grudge with one manager, so move on.
There we have it. Hang on, editor. We're going back 2 seconds. I've got one more name to throw into the hat, and we're all going to agree on it. I can guarantee you that. Fuck Alan Pardew. How does he keep getting a job?
He is rubbish. He is wank.
Mate, he's just taking that cash, taking that Bunsen burner, and off he goes.
No, he looks like one of those dads who chats up his daughter's friends.
He loves
That's
it.
gross.
And we all know.
Probably bleep that out.
So that's all we've got time for on today's Sunday Vibes. There's no episode next week because it's FFO, but there is one the week after, and it's going to be a special episode because Christopher Hamill is going off to speak to Young'un. So if you've got any questions for Young'un, hit him in the comments right now about his music, about his football. Let us know using the hashtag Sunday Vibes. Thanks very much to these two for joining me, for you guys for sending your questions, and we'll catch you later. Sayonara.